For what felt like the longest, Sony Pictures Animation was considered the C tier of animation studios. They didn't usually produce anything really bad, but a lot of middle-of-the-road movies. Okay, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs was a banger, as was Surf's Up, which I just got to rewatch recently. In a time where a lot of animated movies felt over the top and frantic, Surf's Up was surprisingly laid back and felt very fresh because of its mockumentary style, and I really wish we got more movies like it. No, we do not talk about the sequel. The notorious low point was obviously when they released the Emoji Movie, perhaps one of the most uninspired and vapid animated movies or otherwise ever conceived. The fact that this movie actually had a solid box office return is actually incredibly depressing. And no, it is not the worst movie ever, but it's just so boring and soulless. And all I could ever think about is, wow, imagine if this movie was actually good. Like, imagine if Lord and Miller wrote it. Well, anyways, it doesn't matter because Sony turned around the next year and made one of the best animated movies ever. Yeah. Spider-Verse's success not only ushered a new era of animation, but it also signifies Sony officially crawling out of the gutter. And though they've technically never made anything quite as peak as Spider-Verse since, they've still put out a lot of bangers. So much to the point that they're kinda making Disney and even Pixar seem underwhelming in comparison. Sony seems to give their directors and artists so much creative freedom when it comes to aesthetic, style, humor, and most importantly, writing. And that honestly used to be Disney's wheelhouse. They used to push for more engaging real writing and go all the way with zany humor, but now a lot of their movies feel so sanitized. I actually quite enjoyed Elio, but it didn't bring a whole lot new to the table, visually or even storytelling wise, and I'm getting the same feeling for Pixar's Hoppers. Like, I'm sure it'll be solid, but the animation and story just feels so basic and unappealing. Like, this low-key is the type of animation you could easily find in a Netflix kids movie. Anyways, getting to the part of this review where I actually talk about the movie, Goat kinda blindsided me. When I heard the premise and saw the poster, I was like, I don't know, this could be pretty lame. And then the first trailer dropped and I saw how stylized the animation was and how interesting the world building looked, and I was pretty interested. Then some months passed and an ice storm hit, I lost power for a ridiculous amount of time, and have spent the last 2 weeks trying to get back on track. Yeah, I honestly forgot this movie was coming out, but I was still excited to see it. So I dragged my parents with me to watch it, and I actually really enjoyed it. It follows Will the goat, who has a passion for rollerball, basically a more dangerous animal version of basketball. He's really good, but nobody respects him because of his size. But through a series of internet-related events, of course, he goes viral and gets drafted to a pro rollerball team, where he must defy the odds of his small size and change the game. Yeah, story-wise, it's a very typical sports movie underdog story. Narratively, there really aren't that many surprises besides the twist villain, which is still somehow better done than a lot of Disney's twist villains. On that note, I did like Paulbert as a twist villain. I just tend to prefer antagonists who are really menacing and powerful. But no, he is definitely way better than Smellweather. Back to Goat, though the story may be cliche, albeit a more comforting type of cliche, where the movie really feels fresh is in its visuals, themes, and characters. The animation has Sony's now signature 2.5 style. It's obviously CGI, but with lots of 2D flourishes, details, and even 2D animation techniques like action lines, frame rate switching, smearing, and beautiful paint-truly backgrounds. In the 90s and early 2000s, it was 2D characters in 3D worlds. Now it's 3D characters in 2D worlds, and it's very aesthetically pleasing because of it. The city itself feels like a grungier version of the Rainforest District in Zootopia, mixed with a good dose of the multicultural hip-hop fueled flair we saw in Spider-Verse. The world building and the courts in each location is surprisingly creative and detailed, so much so that I wouldn't have mind spending more time in each of them. And yes, I know the Zootopia comparisons feel pretty obvious, though Goat's world actually feels unique and fresh enough to stand on its own without feeling like a less interesting copy. Sorry, Sing. Also, the animals wear shoes in this universe. Don't really know why they don't in Zootopia, but that's not important. Where the animation really shines though is in the rollerball sequences. Oh my gosh, they're so good. There's so much energy in the character animation and camera movement that you feel like you're actually in the middle of the game. There's a real sense of danger and scale in the way the animals play, and it's so incredibly dynamic and fluid, and it's just so peak. I say these scenes alone are definitely worth the price of admission. The characters in the movie are pretty likable. Will is actually very sympathetic and charming as the lead, mostly thanks to Caleb McLaughlin, who is channeling some great Miles Morales energy into his voice performance, like the perfect mix of swag and sweet. He's a very easy character to root for, and his arc is less about him changing as a character and more about him changing as a player and teammate. Narratively, it's not the most effective, but it works enough for this type of movie. Gabrielle Union gives a surprisingly grounded and engaging performance as the star player Jet Fillmore, a character who's obviously great at her craft, but struggles to channel that greatness without losing her integrity or even sanity. She's also very sympathetic, and her journey opens up a lot of discussions about the flaws of the sports industry, from greed to mental health. The other teammates are fun, if not forgettable. The dad with his bad daughters was sometimes funny. Steph doesn't phone in a performance for the giraffe, which was nice. The ostrich was meh. The only character who really stood out to me was Moto, who is only what I can assume is a mutated Komodo dragon or something, played by Nick Kroll, who excels at doing over-the-top Euro accents. Man, I love Moto so much. He's so funny and chaotic and crazy, and I think I just miss characters like this in animated movies in general. The teammates all have individual conflicts, but the movie kinda takes the easy way out and solves all of their issues through a montage, which connects to the pacing issue. The first act feels a little too slow, and the third act feels too rushed. Not enough to completely dull the emotional moments, but it did cheapen them a bit. I also found the humor to be kinda hit or miss, though there are a lot of genuinely funny moments, especially with how expressive the characters are. Also, y'all really played the dead parents disease card again? It's technically still affecting, but come on, at least make it feel different. I mean, these movies made the dead parent trope funny. So yeah, GOAT is a lot of fun. The characters are fun, the animation is amazing, and it does have its heart in the right place. The writing and joke density isn't as sharp as something like Spider-Verse, but what movie is, to be honest? This is just meant to be a fun, simple sports flick, and it does that well, while still showing a lot of Disney's flaws in their recent efforts. I think it can be enjoyed even if you're not an avid basketball or sports movie fan. Or furry. Ah yes, the internet is about to go crazy again. I'm really interested to see what this movie's box office is going to be like, because it's projected to actually make a lot of money. And you know, with Zootopia just coming out recently, you know, you got people who are into those types of movies with anthropomorphic animals, and a lot of hype for Sony recently too, so I think it might do good. And it would be good to see like another original animated movie actually make some good money, you know, to show Hollywood that people actually do still want to see original stuff. It's not just like sequels and reboots that people show up for. Thank you all for watching. I always appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Bye.